Welcome to the show.
So now we're going to do a bit of a,
Transition.
So
Settings.
Venezuela had a terrorist attack. At least that's what the president's calling it.
At least making air quotes.
I didn't put air quotes on the
quotes.
president part. He's actually the president.
He made the air quotes on the
But
terrorist.
should he be?
It was a coup,
A coup attempt, I
Coup.
think is the word.
Coupe?
I believe.
Anyway, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Backtrack.
So, what happened 2 days ago with a helicopter, Jono?
2 days ago, a guy named Oscar Perez, allegedly, flew a helicopter with another guy in a black mask over Caracas in Venezuela, which is the capital. Flew over the city for a little while, and then dropped some grenades on the Supreme Court.
What?
No one got killed. Did someone get hurt?
No.
Alright, so no one got hurt at all.
One of the grenades didn't even go off.
One of four.
That's even scarier because
Did he pull the
Anyway.
pin out?
it's not important.
Classic question from
Yeah,
Yachan.
Because
not important.
if you don't, it doesn't go off.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
No worries.
No grenade specialist.
Anyway, but in conjunction with this, he also released a video on his Instagram page which anyone can go and see. Oscar Perez.
He actually
GZ
released
or something.
6 of them because you can only post a minute on Instagram, and it's a 6-minute long video broken up into minute chapters.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know.
Basically, the gist of it, he's not happy with the president. He says he's part of a coalition of police officers and civilians and military people who are against the unconstitutional behavior of the president, and also the way that he's treating the protesters as well, from what I could understand. And he basically wants Maduro to stop doing what he's doing right now, and then I guess hold elections, which is what everyone seems to want who's not on Maduro's side. Nicolas Maduro, by the way, is the president of Venezuela right now.
I'll give him backstory on that. Let's
Okay.
keep going on this video, though. What he also talked about is he definitely mentioned that he was a Christian and doing, God's work, which to me is super interesting in that, have there been Christian terrorists before this?
Oh,
Heaps.
probably the first terrorists were probably Christian.
Yeah, I was thinking crusades and
Not
stuff.
for a little
Does that
while.
count as terrorism?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I mean,
well.
in Ireland and the guys who blow up.
There's probably
abortion
been
clinics in
more
America.
Christian terrorists
Dylan
than any
Roof.
other terrorists.
Yeah.
The guy who shot up that black church and
Yeah, there's heaps actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about
Christian
Ireland,
terrorists.
but you're right.
Many.
Lots and lots.
All of Africa. They're basically Lord's what are
But-
the LRA?
IRA.
No, the LRA in
That's Ireland.
remember
We've
Joseph
moved on
Kony?
now.
Sorry.
Joseph Kony
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
he's a Christian as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Far
Lord's Resistance Army.
Far out. Someone kill him.
Yeah.
out. Well, they tried.
Only 2012.
Make him famous.
Yeah.
I think I have a t-shirt at home.
Do you
Anyway.
I changed my
That's such
face.
that's such a side topic, but
I
geez, I could
changed
talk
my,
about that for 2 hours.
Yeah, same. Anyways, I changed my Facebook profile photo.
I was so in for
Made all the
that. Let's not talk about that. That's a distraction.
Storm the city.
Okay. So I bet you're wondering what's wrong with Venezuela.
What is going
I didn't
on?
think there was anything happening.
Mate, I
Excuse me, one conversation.
Sorry.
thought
Now-
everyone was happy, drinking their pina coladas.
Turns
No,
out
people aren't happy.
Venezuela has sucked for 6 months now. Let me take you back.
Take me there.
6 months.
So Maduro, sorry. I keep
Mildura?
thinking- That's the orange juice, sorry.
Maduro. Maduro.
Maduro is the president.
Maduro.
Okay. Now, where he started to go wrong was he started to he disrupted an election of some legislators to Congress, and that's when everything that was the starting point of the division.
When did he get in power though?
I don't know, but
It was 2013 general
Okay.
elections. So they separate their general elections from their parliamentary elections. So not last year, 2015, they had parliamentary elections. So he was not up for election, but his parliament is, which is the one that's supposed to pass legislation and stuff.
right.
He lost that pretty convincingly because Venezuela's economy's been going downhill because they're basically a socialist state propped up by oil revenue. And when the oil price goes down, which it has massively, they don't have enough money to do all the things that they do, which has led to hyperinflation and shortages of food and medicine and all this other stuff. which is why the opposition won those elections, because he's really unpopular. Well, generally unpopular. He lost that like 56% to 40%. And then as you were saying, he tried to annul the election of three members of their parliament. They only have one parliament house. So the Supreme Court is kind of on his side. So the Supreme Court supports him and basically does what he wants. The opposition had won enough seats to have something called a supermajority in their parliament, which I think gave them the power to do something about the president.
Because the people who were getting elected were opposition to him.
Yeah.
Super majority.
So if they had so much control in the parliament, like if you have that kind of control in America, you can impeach the president.
Wow.
So that kind of level, I think they had some constitutional power with that supermajority to do something.
Yeah. So him disrupting that, obviously, that's a bit of a red flag, right?
Sounds like an early stages of a dictator.
Sure does.
That's what the opposition is saying about him.
So that's where it kind of started, and then...
And what happened, Ellie?
That was in January 2016. The Supreme Court annulled the election in a particular state, Amazonas or something like that, and there was 4 people elected from there. 1 was on his side, 3 were opposition, and that 3 was enough to reduce them from having a supermajority.
Wow.
Which then everyone obviously got really upset about. So the Parliament was like, "Stuff you, Supreme Court. We're going to swear those guys in anyway." So they swore in those members of Parliament anyway, even though the Supreme Court had said you can't do that. And then I think in March, the Supreme Court had said, all right, none of you are legitimate anymore. We're going to take over your functions.
Wow.
So the Supreme Court tried to take over the functions of the Legislative Assembly.
That was March this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first move was in January this year. Sorry, I think the elections might have been 2016.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The first thing was 2016.
Yeah.
March 30th this year is when
Yeah.
everything got crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, like, immediately everyone went out and protested. The opposition leader was like, this is the first steps to a dictator, because the Supreme Court's basically just doing what the president wants. And he's just trying to counter our majority, which they had democratically earned.
That's right.
In Parliament. And so, because it's hard to say that you can't say an election was rigged if the opposition wins, right? Like, normally if it's going to be rigged, it's the government that's going to have done the rigging, because they have the power to
That's
do
right,
it.
yeah.
The opposition won it, so I mean, fair cop to Maduro, he probably had fair elections. Or if he rigged it, he didn't do a very good job. And then, people were protesting in the streets, and that hasn't really stopped
It's
for
been
like the last 3 months.
Yeah. So everyone's been saying it's been 90 days of constant protesting.
Yeah. So like every day, like hundreds of thousands of people in the streets.
Like, the pictures are insane.
Yeah.
Like, they're not exaggerating the numbers. Like,
Yeah.
it's streets and streets of people.
Yeah.
And since the beginning of that, 75 people have died.
Yeah.
And that's not just protesters, that's like people on both sides.
Wow.
Because in the turmoil of all this stuff, there's been a lot of crime breakout. There's been a lot of even more food shortages. And then apparently medicine's really hard to get as well. I saw a very, very sad video about that. And like, it's just like children not able to get medicine and stuff like that.
They're talking about estimating that lots of people, probably way more than that 75, have actually died. Because there's malnourished kids, and there's like elderly people who don't have enough food. Then like, if you're sick, it's like they don't get counted in the 75. Those are people who've gotten shot and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's probably way more people who've actually died.
There's
because
pretty
of
much
this.
only emergency surgery at the moment.
They reckon they have 5% of the medicine they actually need
Wow.
in the country. And their public health system is like collapsing.
So seeing all this, obviously...
So that's not all he's doing. So in this kind of gap, other things have happened. Like, there's a lot of other countries kind of turning on, what's the word? Venezuela, because of how they're reacting to all the protesting.
Yeah, the violence on the protesters. He's using the military to basically try and clamp down on the protests.
Yeah, military is 100% on his side, which I guess they should be because he's the president, right?
Not quite. There was one general who just stepped down about 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago,
right?
Saying he disagreed with Maduro's plan for a constitutional assembly.
Yeah,
which I assume you're about to describe.
Yes, he's trying to change the constitution, which nobody except his side wants, I think. And he's not doing it like legally, it seems, either. He seems to be inventing new ways to change the constitution.
He's taken one part of their constitution, which is like the people should have the power to change the constitution.
Yeah.
In Australia and most other countries, that means a referendum. And you have to win the referendum to change the constitution. He is going to make an assembly made up of students and workers and stuff like that. I'm assuming they're going to be his supporters because he's going to get to choose who's in it.
Of course, yeah.
Like 500 people who are going to get to rewrite the constitution.
Gee.
I'm not sure what they're planning to rewrite it to, but obviously what he's doing is trying to circumvent the legislative assembly again, which is controlled by the opposition.
Which was a huge part of Hugo Chavez's like thing, right? Which is why everyone loved him. He was such a man of the people.
Well, so this is the thing. Most of the fanatical Hugo Chavez supporters, like he was pretty popular, like in his country. He
was
stood
the
up to America.
Previous leader.
He used to give these like super long speeches at the UN General Assembly, just calling like George Bush the devil and all this other stuff. Like,
Wow.
Which, like,
ridiculous.
in hindsight, like, was he that wrong about?
Probably not.
He probably is the devil.
I think Dick Cheney was the devil. George Bush was his puppet. But anyway, the people who supported him, he's the one who made this constitution, so they don't necessarily support the idea of changing it. So he's losing supporters who are hardcore pro Chavez, who was his mentor. Maduro is like the successor to Chavez. Chavez died of cancer
Yeah, I think
in the early 2010s,
so. It wasn't long ago.
and then 2013 Maduro won.
And how long can you stay in power once you win?
Well, his next election is up in 2019, but they think he's trying to change the constitution so he doesn't have to be re-elected in 2019.
And what people like Oscar Perez are asking for is an election now.
Right.
Yeah.
So no one wants to like shoot him and replace him. All everyone wants is just another election.
I assume that was probably what they had the ability to call with
Yeah.
their supermajority. They probably could have said, we're having elections.
And he instead is tightening his grip.
Yeah. It's crazy that the Supreme Court is so stacked in his favor, but I guess after having... Because Hugo Chavez came in 1999, so they've had it for like 18 years, so
Yeah.
I guess by then you've appointed judges who are
Put the right
on your
people in
side.
the right places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I guess the dropping the grenades thing is symbolic, but the opposition is accusing the government of staging this whole terrorist attack thing.
Really?
Which doesn't sound that crazy when another fact that just happened is Henri Capri, who's the leader of the opposition. I think I said that right.
You did.
Yeah.
Do you?
Just own it.
It's spelled Enrique Capriles, so I'm just
Enrique?
Yeah,
Enrique.
Enrique
Capriles.
Capriles. Yeah, that sounds better.
Enrique.
I'm not Venezuelan, all right. I don't know
Capri-
how to say things.
Capri Sun?
What was it again? Enrique
Enrique.
Capri.
Capri Paris.
Look, no one would have said anything if you said, I think I said that wrong. You said, I think I said that right.
Just,
Oh, did I?
just own it.
You're definitely wrong. So
was like,
he's
are
the
you sure?
he's like the big opposition leader, and he just got outlawed from running for politics for 15 years.
I
Wow.
think another guy got arrested last year. So it's hard to say who's in charge of the opposition too, because it's actually heaps of different parties that have formed a coalition.
Yeah.
So they're all the way from like left, centrist, right wing. Maduro says this whole thing, the whole economic issues, like the protests and everything, is caused by a capitalist conspiracy against his government.
He thinks it's America, right?
To bring down. Well, like that's not new. Chavez has always said that America is trying to take him down because they used to have like embargoes on Venezuela and stuff.
Which probably was right, because George
Yeah, they
Bush
probably
was
were.
all about oil,
Yeah.
and they're a huge oil resource, right?
But like, it's pretty dumb to say that the entire fact that the oil price has gone down is because of an American conspiracy to stuff over Venezuela. Like,
Yeah.
that's a very specific thing that affects the entire world.
Right.
But like, he is saying that like the shortages and stuff are manufactured, so it's companies who are trying to take him out.
The idea that the helicopter and the grenades attack is fabricated is not that hard to believe when you look at this guy. He's totally like he's got actor, all these things are like all made up. He's got all the videos on his Instagram.
Yeah.
He's in the action movies. He thinks he's an action star.
Yeah, he has.
He does have a lot of followers, so he might be an action star.
I know he is.
He's in movies.
In the movies.
He's in a.
He
He was
like
in a action
230
movie
followers.
like 3 years ago.
230,000 followers.
It might have been new though,
Right.
because he's been in the news a lot, so people might have gone on.
I was gonna say, like, is he a well-known guy?
In
He was
Venezuela,
well. I
probably.
guess he was an actor. He used to be the helicopter pilot for the interior minister, who Maduro accuses of trying to plot a coup against him.
It's
But-
like if Tom Cruise jumped on a helicopter and started dropping grenades.
And think
It's
about it. They've been protesting so well for 90 days straight, and then they... Like, what was the point of this helicopter attack? Like, it didn't do anything.
It's good. This guy's got a few more followers.
Yeah, all it does is give the president more reason to be more harsh.
That's right.
Which is what the opposition is saying.
Yeah.
It
They're
makes
saying
him
you're
look
going
like
to
the
use
good
this
guy.
as an excuse to exercise more power, like
That's right,
more
yeah.
military.
It's believable.
Yeah, like, it's so weird as well. Like, throwing grenades from a helicopter,
Very strange.
that's such a weird tactic.
I thought, okay, if he could just be like a dude who wanted to make a big symbolic gesture. I don't think anyone would think that throwing grenades from a helicopter is a like effective way. Like he probably didn't think I'm gonna assassinate those judges
Yeah.
by throwing these grenades
it
down
was,
there.
It was, yeah.
But he does seem like someone who's going for a big gesture.
That's right.
But like also like you were saying, like you look at his Instagram account, like he's with cancer survivors. He puts stuff up. He's like had a history of putting things up about the shortages of medicine
And people who've
what
died.
was happening.
in
Yeah,
the
people who've
protests.
died. If
And-
you were to follow his message, you wouldn't necessarily think that he was wrong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I think if it was going to be a false flag attack, you'd want him to be wrong.
Yeah.
You'd want him to be a bad guy. You're not like a guy everyone goes, yeah, he's right. So I don't know if it is, but if I don't know, he seems to be using enough military authority as it is. I don't know if he needed an excuse for it. It's just a very elaborate plot. I don't know. It seems unnecessary.
Yeah, it gets kind of dicey if you go either way.
Hmm.
In that, like, yeah, like what you trying to do? But like when I watched the video and I saw all of what he was saying, is you kind of come out on Oscar's side a little bit, and that like yeah, it does sound like it's terrible, and it seems like the protests aren't really doing anything.
I was definitely on the protesters' side after seeing a speech by one of the fathers of one of the guys who was shot. So a young man got shot, like I think it was 18 or 19, or it might have been
Wow.
20. A young college student,
Yeah,
and
it's
his
a student.
father did a speech, talking to Nicolas Maduro as his supervisor because he used to work in the train
Yeah,
system
Wow.
as his supervisor before Maduro went through the unions and stuff and became like a politician and stuff. And he was just appealing to him to just stop all of this. That was insane. Because this kid was like, he was going out there to like help protesters or something, right? Like he was like a good kid. Anyway, he liked to get food and like get it to like people who were starving and stuff like that. So it was pretty insane.
Very sad.
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy because there's kind of an economy has come out of the protest economy, in that there's people like selling things to the protesters
Yeah.
because the money's worth so little that they get at their actual jobs. They get more money selling things to protesters because there's so many of them, which is insane when you think about it.
They've taken over as the highest inflation country in the world. It's at 600%.
Wow.
679%.
Jeez.
For context, the RBA in Australia aims for 2%.
Wow,
2% is a good amount.
that is a lot less.
Yeah.
600% is a bad
Yeah.
amount. Yeah.
And it's set to be 700% by the end of the year.
And
That's
they-
like the prediction.
They estimate 2,000 next year.
Wow.
But that's because they've got an economy where it's like, it's socialist. So they give a lot of stuff to people. Like they make sure everyone's looked after. But it doesn't have a diversified economy. It's not like got a good education system, which is what you want.
It's all oil, right?
Yeah, it's all oil. But there's other countries that do that, like Finland, but they have the best school system in the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's other things that people do. If the oil price goes down, they're not stuffed because they've invested the money in things that make people's lives better instead of just feeding them every day.
Yeah, and it seems like from what the president's saying lately, it does sound like he doesn't want to do a civil war, which is what it kind of looks like it's leading to, right? Like one of his lines recently was, "Do you want words or bullets?" And that's him.
You want votes or bullets?
Votes or
That's
bullets,
what he
sorry.
said.
Wow.
And
But that was his justification for the
Changing the Constitution.
Yeah, for the Constitutional Assembly. Do you want the Constitutional Assembly or do you want bullets? That's the options he's giving people.
Yeah.
Let me rewrite your constitution, or I will shoot you, like you people.
So naturally, people aren't liking those kind of speeches. And yeah, what do you think's going to happen, Joe?
I don't know. It depends on how far he's willing to take it. It all hinges on the military.
Yeah.
Because if the military stays on his side, there's not heaps the protesters can do. In Egypt, when there was an uprising, the only reason the uprising, like, people won is because the military refused to shoot on them.
Right.
But the military's already shown that they're kind of willing to shoot protesters.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's gonna. But it can't keep going because people are literally starving. They don't have medicine. Like, they're either all gonna die or they're all gonna be in the streets, like, dragging this guy out of the parliament.
Yeah.
He still has a few supporters who are supporting the leftists. I guess they believe him that it's an American conspiracy to take him out.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah, I don't see it ending well.
You don't think other countries are going to get involved?
There's 11 other Latin American states that have come out condemning the violence against the protesters.
Right.
Venezuela has already said they're going to remove themselves from the Organization of American States, the OAS.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was.
It's like some organization that's, I guess...
Like the EU?
Nah, not as powerful, though.
Yeah.
It's more like a diplomacy group
Ah,
than economic group
Right.
or anything. But they're saying, because that group came out against Maduro, what he's doing, he said, we're leaving it. So I don't know how much other countries can do short of, like, actually going in and doing something, which they wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
That's it about Venezuela. I started reading about that and then I couldn't stop because I feel like this is another like Philippines thing, and that like there's not enough people talking about this, and it's crazy. Like, this is so much more interesting than freaking Kardashians. Like this.
Are you sure?
Ugh. These kids these days with their Kardashians
I was trying to think of a non-stupid
and their
thing to say,
avocado
but-
on toast.
Yeah.
Never gonna have a house.
That's it for Venezuela. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you even knew anything about that, because I didn't until yesterday.
If you're from Venezuela, you probably think we're idiots.
Yeah, that's what we've learned when we try to talk about educated things from other countries. The people from that country go, "Do you even research anything?"
Which is probably fair.
Yeah, because when people talk about Australia, we always go, "They're idiots,"
Yeah.
which is usually true.
So you're right. We are idiots.
We hear you.
We're sorry
hear
about
you.
what's happening in your
We
country.
did our best. Probably wrong.
We did all right, I think.
Let's bring it back to Australia.
Anyway, thanks for that.